ride together, we die together. Bad boys for life. Get busy living or get busy dying.
King first, last. Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
Welcome to Brews and Reviews with Mick and Pat. I'm Mick.
And I'm Pat.
And each week we sit down with you degenerates to pretend we're certified cicerones and cinephiles.
That is right. So grab a cold one and join us as we review New Belgium's Pink Lemonade Shandy and Quentin Tarantino's debut film, Reservoir Dogs.
And if you've been with us before, you know what time it is.
Release the Kraken!
Oh, bro, without like even pouring it yet?
I just had to get a little taste in. Had to see how it was. It's
got a nice color.
It looks like pink lemonade. Wonder if those foamy sounds are coming through.
Very like just the foam being so aerated.
Mm-hmm.
It's very like apricot-y.
Let's see, what's this can say? This can looks like summertime in the 60s. That font. That the font reminds me of another Tarantino film. That's on the back of that red truck. Is it a red truck in Kill Bill?
Yeah, the push wagon.
Yes, that one. It's got that font on there. It's Pink Lemonade Shandy. Looks like a little cotton candy on this yellows, oranges, and pinks. And I think this is a seasonal that they're coming out with. I don't know have they done this one in the past?
I've never seen it before. I didn't even see it. I was at New Belgium on a Saturday afternoon, and I didn't see it there.
Yeah, I think this is a new one. So it says here on the can, ever miss your younger days hustling lemonade in your parents' driveway? We've got something better. A refreshing pink lemonade shandy, a fooder-aged golden sour with a small batch pink lemonade brew, reminiscent of that summertime classic. Sit back, relax, and support your local lemonade stand. So, also on here, it says it's a tart Kolsch ale with lemon juice and colored with black carrot extract. See, that's how it does look carroty.
It's way more sour than I expected for it. Like when you said shandy,
yeah,
I was not expecting a sour. I was
me
thinking
neither.
like a wheat beer.
Yeah, it's got a sour in there.
I'm not complaining, but you know what to do, right? It's been a minute. Have you forgotten the method?
Which one?
The Mick method, bro. The switching it around.
The switch
aerate
test?
it, yeah.
I've not forgotten.
Alrighty. Well, folks, you know what to do. If you've been with us before, if not, I'll go through it for you. You're going to take a sip about a tablespoon, and you're going to let it go all over the top of your tongue and down to the side of your tongue, underneath your tongue, inside your tonsils. You know, that little gap where your tongue meets your molars. And then you're going to swish it around side to side. And then you're going to push your tongue to the roof of your mouth and push it all through your teeth, through your front teeth.
When I do it with the sours, it gets me. the sour flavors hit all over on the sour tastes. It's a 6.7 by volume.
Whee! Yeah, that's apricot-y.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of tastes like snow to me.
Like snow?
Yeah, it has like that weird taste that fresh snow has.
And it's been peed in?
No. No, Pat. Like, you know when it's fresh snow you scrape it off like the top of your car before you clean your car off, before everyone's out and about. You just munch on it. Kind of has that crispiness to it.
I see that.
I don't really know if I'm getting lemon. I definitely get apricot.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what the lemon part is in here.
What's it say online? Did they have anything else listed?
They say
Kolsch ale, but nothing here that says any other flavors other than lemon.
Yeah, they've got the same bits about there being a foeder aged golden sour. A foeder.
Foeder's just the wine barrel.
Just the barrel.
For any of you who aren't Cicerones,
It's
foeders
true.
are just the giant wooden wine caskets that they let wine ferment in, and then they leave all the goodies, the tannins in the wood, and then they brew beer in them to make sours.
And it says with a small batch of pink lemonade brew. So, I guess they put some lemons in there.
Pink lemonade brew, pink lemonade, isn't pink lemonade usually strawberry lemonade? Like, isn't that how you usually make pink lemonade? Like, you make lemonade and you let strawberry sit in it?
That's probably the real way. The other way is whatever just the food coloring dye is that's in the powder.
Black carrot.
And in this one, in this case, they use the black carrot to get that color. It says, what sets our pink lemonade shandy apart is its unique blend of flavors. The Kolsch beer base adds a touch of sweetness that perfectly balances the tartness of the lemon, creating a harmonious and well-rounded taste profile.
Actually, on that next sip, I think I do taste like kind of the
Getting through to the lemon.
Really only the tart bitterness of the lemon. I don't taste like any of the sweet or sour associated with lemonade usually. I feel like the sour is definitely like coming from like that apricot or wine flavor. The tannins.
Like we should make lemonade and not put sugar in it. And it'd probably taste,
And ferment it.
And then ferment it.
Like just pour wheat beer into it.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think it's bad. Excuse me. I just don't think it tastes like lemonade. It tastes very like if you had told me this was I think it's Avery that does an apricot beer, apricot sour, or no, Crush. The Crush sours. They got like an apricot cucumber. I don't know what the other ones are. I can't remember, but I would think it was that.
Yeah, it tastes like a sour, and I think that anytime you have Shandy on it, the Leinenkugel taste is just what's in your head. Yeah. Which the Leinenkugel is like drinking a lemonade. Or like, not really, but like as far as how it's not you could hand it to anybody. Like when it's hot outside and they could just they just start drinking it. Like, I don't really know what this is, but it's helping me in this sun right now. Whereas this has a lot going on inside of it. Lots more flavors, lots more things.
I don't know if it's got a lot going on. I'm going to be counter to you.
I'd say not multiple things, but strong tardiness.
Yeah, I think it's good. It's definitely just not what I'd expect for a Shandy. Leinenkugel, I think, is I still think Leinenkugel, though, is like a distinct, weedy flavor. It's not that I would drink this on a hot day. I love sours to begin with. You know what I mean? Like, I think they usually have a lot of different flavors in them. And so, but I couldn't say, if you told me to pick this out of a lineup of a ton of sours, I don't know if I'd be able to do it.
I agree.
It's kind of like a background, fits the mold for any sour.
Yep. I grabbed this one because today has been the hottest day of the year so far.
No. Was it?
So.
I thought, geez, man, I thought Saturday and yesterday were hot.
Yeah.
Saturday was not fun, hot until the rain came.
Yeah. It was, but these last few days have been toasty. We're in the peak of summer. So when I saw the Shandy on there, it enticed me into grabbing it off the shelf.
Nice. Well, I don't think we need to spend any more time on it unless there's anything else you want to add.
No, I think, it tastes like a
It tastes
sour
like
beer.
Yeah, it tastes like a sour.
You know, but it's not. It wouldn't be a super strong sour.
Mm.
It's an easy sipper.
Yeah. What are you going to give it, Pat? What are you thinking?
I'm giving it a 0 thumbs.
I'm also going to give it a 0 thumbs.
Yeah.
It's not bad, but it's not excellent.
Because I'll tell you this, New Belgium, you've stuck a fat price tag on this thing.
Did they? What was it for the 4-pack?
The 4-pack in the store was $16, which is just should be some nice beer.
They're also tall boys.
They're tall boys. They're tall boys. I should say that. But then online, they're selling 8-packs for 50 bones, which I'd feel like when you see that type of price tag, you just kind of put
it's a high expectation.
This
is not a.
It's a limited release, summertime, seasonal, by a brewery that puts out some good beer, and so when you slap that big price tag on it, the expectations go up.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So I feel like I could get this type of flavor and experience in a lot of places.
A variety pack of other sours.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, New Belgium, I'm not going to recommend it to anyone as their first sour. And I'm not going to say it's a bad one either.
I'm going to enjoy it.
For New Belgium's reputation, it's kind of a sad sleeper, you know what I mean? Like, it's like I'll never go out of my way to get it again.
I don't think I will either.
Actually, on that note, how do you feel about the Domingo sour that they have? It's like their mimosa sour.
I don't think I've had it.
I don't like it.
Yeah.
I think it tastes weird. Like, I think mimosas in themselves kind of don't taste all that good.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just not a mimosa person. It kind of tastes like someone carbonated orange juice and then it got flat. And I just think it really tastes flat. And it doesn't really taste like juicy or sweet or anything. It's not like a tequila sunrise. Like, I think tequila sunrises taste phenomenal.
Right.
And the mimosa sour is just supposed to be a mimosa in a can, but it's beer instead of vodka. And it just is not very good in my opinion.
That stuff in cans is already risky. I don't know if New Belgium, they're getting a little wild lately.
Are they though? I think they're playing it safe.
Or are they just bending to what they think is going to be the?
I think they're playing it safe, dude.
Yeah.
I think they're really playing it. I think they're just doing things that they know will sell, but like they're not getting crazy and experimental like they used to be, bro.
Yep.
Like,
but they're also not sticking to the main thing.
I think so.
With the
look how many different freaking voodoos there are.
No, but I mean like the
amount of IPAs they have.
I'm saying since they shifted the fat, they changed the fat tire up. Like they're not like they made a lot of people upset with that, and it does taste. The taste of that fat tire now is like more people like it.
You can distinctively tell that it's not the same fat tire.
Oh yeah.
You think more people like it?
I like more. Yes, broader. It's a broader casting net. That's the point of why they did it. They did it because they're like, we're going to get more people who, when they pick this beer up, they like it.
I'll tell you this: it definitely tastes like a craft beer of Pabst Blue Ribbon now.
Yeah, no,
it doesn't taste like Coors. Definitely tastes like a fancy Pabst.
Yep.
And I just don't think that's as good as it used to be.
That's not a good thing.
No.
But they're casting a wider net. They're not going as deep.
Dude, what's crazy?
They're going shallow.
What's crazy? I'll talk about this on the actual podcast. Is that I took a dude hopefully a guy who will be my whole future brother-in-law. He's dating my sister-in-law.
Oh wow.
And I love him. Him and I are just really good buds. But this was his first time in Fort Collins. So I took him to the top 10 breweries in Fort Collins.
Oh, nice.
And he's kind of a lightweight.
Yeah.
All of his experience, because he doesn't drink because he goes to a Christian school on a scholarship for sports, so he doesn't really drink at all during the school year. So he only has beer like when he's not at school, and even then he's like kind of not supposed to, like according to like scholarship contracts or whatever, right? But like the beer he has had is like light beer, like he doesn't know craft beer. So we took him to like all of our local breweries, our top 10 up here, and dude, he was just in heaven, but he was also overwhelmed immediately.
Yeah. In his blood cells.
Yeah, he didn't. We got to Funkworks, and he was cashed out. He was done. He was like, guys, I don't know if I could drink anymore. I think I'm just gonna have 5-ounce tasters for the rest of the day, which makes sense. When you go from like 3 to 4% light beer, and then you reach your way over to 6-7% craft beer. It's a lot different,
Oh yeah.
But anyways, we were doing the free tour at New Belgium, and they had Abbey, and Abbey is a discontinued beer. It was the first beer that the creator of New Belgium ever brewed. And it was like really weird at the time. Not everyone liked it because it was like it's got a very strong banana nut caramelly flavor. And it's like a darker beer, but not like a stout. And it just didn't sell as well with all like the general public, because the general public is just used to Bud Light or Coors Light, right? And so New Belgium discontinued it, but they every year brew it a little bit. If you're lucky, you can get a bottle of it, or if they don't have any more bottles, you might still be able to get some on tap while you're on the tour. And this dude was like, we still have a little bit left on this tap here if you guys want to try it. And I, told him, I was like, dude, you got to try this. You'll never have another chance to try this again in your life. It's delicious beer. And he tried it, and like all day he talked about it. And then on Sunday after church, the whole time we were like out at lunch and talking to people about the tours and stuff we did, he was like, dude, this beer, I cannot stress you how good this beer was. It was unlike anything I've ever had. And it was cool to see someone like him just like catch the bug for like what craft beer can be. But I feel like New Belgium's not doing that. New Belgium's not making the Abbeys. They're not doing the delicious, like, not playing to what beer is, beer tastes like, out of like a Bud Light can, but rather like going for like craft ventures of design and profile.
I think their new market is gas stations.
Yeah, it's sad, but I think you're right.
Like that's where I see it all. It's all tall boys in gas stations.
Yeah,
which
making money.
Yeah, I've bought a beer from a gas station myself, but
I've definitely walked to 7-Eleven because it's closer than getting in my car and driving to the liquor store.
But it's also you're one step closer to that being that Four Locos. You know what I'm saying?
I've never had a Four Loco. Are they nasty?
I've never actually had. Maybe we need to
Four Loco on a Brews
Four Loco on a brewing review if we've never had one before.
Yeah, that'd be funny. I'd do it. I would. We'd have to get we should review Cranked.
Yeah,
with Jason Statham and the Four Locos,
and not have any Zen that night, so we don't stop our hearts.
Yeah, don't get it. Anyways, moving on to our film for the evening. We're throwing it back with a classic. I guess it isn't. We misspoke earlier. It's not Tarantino's debut film. I think From Dusk to Dawn was his debut film. But this was like the one that really got Tarantino on the map. Reservoir Dogs.
Craig messing up that script, bro. Make me sound like a fool. But this was that one where he started making a name for himself.
Yeah.
Which
yeah.
Now it's like he's would you, for like film people, you can't talk about film.
Bro, what do you mean film people? We call ourselves cinephiles.
I know. What I'm saying is film people cannot talk about film without bringing up Tarantino at some point.
Smoke break.
Smoke break.
Hey, Ken, it's Mick, and I've got something important to talk about. We all hope we never find ourselves in a self-defense situation, but life's unpredictable. Enter the National Self-Protection Plan from Attorneys on Retainer, an actual credible law firm you can put on retainer for your self-defense needs. For just $35 a month, you get national coverage in all 50 states for criminal and civil legal representation in self-defense situations, complete with a 24/7, 365 toll-free emergency line. That's real legal support when you need it most. What's in the package? Bail bonds, scene cleanup, firearm replacement, even mental health counseling. Plus, 0 fees for a laundry list of defense-related costs like expert witnesses. So support the show and get yourself some peace of mind. Click the link in our show notes or visit our sponsors page to sign up for the National Self-Protection Plan from Attorneys on Retainer.
Hey folks, Pat here. If you're like Mick and I, you're a fan of classic tales like Lonesome Dove, Blood Meridian, The Three-Body Problem, and Steinbeck's East of Eden. With Audible, you can dive into these epic stories anytime, anywhere. Sign up for a free month, and your first audiobook is on the house. To start your free trial and support our show, click the link in the show notes or swing by the sponsors page on our website.
Want an awesome website for your podcast? Check out Podpage. We use it for the Mick and Pat show, and it's a game changer. Set it up in minutes, no coding needed. Support the show by using our link to get started. Your podcast deserves a home as great as ours. Podpage, the one-stop solution. Yeah, whether it's because they don't like him or whatnot. He's not very politically correct.
Whether it's because they don't like him or because it's like there's so much fanfare around him.
Yeah, no, I think Tarantino is one of the best filmmakers of all time. Like, I think it's like the Tarantino-esque. Like, people literally describe other movies as like Tarantino-esque.
Right.
You know, I mean, and that's up there with all the other ones. Kafka-esque.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Scorsese-esque. Like Nolan-esque, like those, like when you get to the point where people are using your name to describe a vibe and a type of feel to a film, and someone's like, "Oh, that's a wannabe Tarantino movie," you made it. You made it. Sure. You know,
for sure. It's like the same thing with musicians, like soloist guitar players. Like when it's like that's the pinnacles when you have a sound like Van Halen, you know, whatever, Jimmy Page.
Yep,
and that's what Tarantino's done for himself.
Bro, dude, I think for bands, on the note of bands, if anyone knows the name of like any of the band members, that's significant. Like before like the Beatles like boy band-esque phase, I guess, of like knowing everybody's name. Like if people actually knew the name of your bass guitarist, like he must be pretty damn good. If people knew the name of your drummer, like not just like your diehard fans, but like just people in general.
Right.
You know you made it as a musician.
Oh, yeah.
People stop saying like, yeah, the drummer for Red Hot Chili Peppers. And like they just actually know you by name, then like you've defined the genre at that point, you know? So like I just kind of feel like that's kind of where Tarantino is. And I think there's so many like clones of Reservoir Dogs. Like how many times have you seen the movie where, I mean, let's be honest, dude, Departed is a clone of Reservoir Dogs. I don't care what people say. Like, Scorsese just made a nearly 3-hour-long like Reservoir Dogs.
A cinematic, action-filled Reservoir Dogs.
I think this is like, a cinematic, action-filled movie.
Yeah, I feel like Reservoir Dogs, though, is like, it's really written, though, as something like it's a playwright that's like the way it's filmed and stuff, it could have...
Very limited scenes could be on a stage.
It could have just been done on a stage, you know, that meaning that versus like, you know, highly dynamic, whatever, more like the Departed stuff. But yep, it said, and I think that I saw a bunch of movies that were based around and flavored from Reservoir Dogs before I saw Reservoir Dogs. But it had a lot of impact on the way people wanted to make movies.
When was the first time you saw it?
I think I was honestly like 20 years old. It's like 10 years ago.
Oh, wow. I think the first time I saw it, I was like homesick watching it on like Netflix when Netflix was still in its early days of streaming. I think I had just gotten the Xbox app on my Xbox 360. And Netflix really just didn't have much on there. But I remember like saw Reservoir Dogs. I was like, I feel like I've heard people talk.
I'd heard about it all the time, but I had no idea what it was. I just heard the name.
I mean, I'll tell you what, dude. First time you watch it, like you don't realize the effect it's going to have on you. At least I didn't. It had a huge effect on me in regards, to like not only just like scene wise, like there are scenes I've never forgotten. And like it's never, you know, you misremember things, right? But like I've always remembered the way he chose to film the fake made up story of a bunch of sheriff deputies in the bathroom while he's got a bag full of weed on him, and the way the camera spins around him and he's talking to the sheriff deputies, telling them the story in the scene. And the way that is the like him conveying the story, this made up story to, this group, this gang that he's trying to kind of pretty much get in with, this heist group. And like, I think as a kid, I was sick the first time I saw it. I was staying home sick from high school. And I wasn't entirely tracking everything. I had never watched a movie out of order like this.
Right, where you had to like really be paying attention.
Yeah, and like trying to keep track of stuff on like Dayquil. But that scene, for some reason, immediately clicked for me. Like seeing him communicating talking directly to the cops about the idea of like the situation and how stressful and panicky it would be. The dog barking and he's got all the drugs on him. For some reason, my like brain immediately switched and was like, oh, because this is made up. Because he's a cop and he's making this story up to win these guys over with a believable story that he is a criminal, and a funny story where, the cops are stupid for not catching him. And like, I don't know why, but that just always has been burnt in my mind as like a lesson of like filmmaking, of like communication. And it really stands out to me of always like a scene where you are shown, you're also being told, but it's way more show than it is tell. And it could have been a very boring, mindless, like forgettable dialogue where he's just very charismatic in a club and everyone's laughing and believing him.
Yeah. And even how leading up to telling the story, we catch the story 3/4 through.
Yep.
And it starts with his like handler telling the story almost, or like getting him into the story, and then him rehearsing the story, and then him getting better at it, and then getting better at it in a different place and time, and then like it pulls us all the way through like what would be in another movie like a whole 30 minutes of like courting the gangsters, trying to get in with them, where he just was like, by the end of the story, working a job for him.
And for some reason, it just feels more believable to me than Leonardo DiCaprio being a badass and smashing a glass on a guy's face for saying he's got a period. Like, I don't know if you remember Departed, but in The Departed, it's Leonardo DiCaprio orders a cranberry juice, no vodka.
And the guy calls him
he's like, that's what my girl drinks when she's on her period. You menstruating? And he like takes a smoke of a cigarette and smashes the glass. And it's like, it's kind of an intense scene in that movie just because of the way he's confronted by the other guys in the bar. But like, I've never bought Leonardo DiCaprio as a badass. I've bought him as like a troubled guy, a very dark, traumatized guy.
Yep.
But I've never bought him as like a badass, fit in with a gang, mafia,
Right.
And Tim Roth's not being a badass. Tim Roth's not. He's playing to, I think, like he knows the badasses are sitting in front of him. Right. And he knows what they are looking for is not a badass. They're looking for a thief.
Yep.
And he tells a story that makes him like believable as like a cool hand Luke, calm, collected, under pressure thief or dealer. And
someone who's not that far in yet. Like I thought about that too, where it was like, it'd be funny
it's kind of green.
Yeah, like even for the time, telling like a weed story to these guys who like murder people. You know, they'd be like, that's kind of like small time,
career criminals.
Yeah, you're a pretty small time kid, but like, but you're willing to do it, and you got the balls to like, get through it. So then I feel like that's during that scene that he was endearing in that way to like be brought in.
Yeah, and the other scene that I always think of too, like before, we'll break down like we usually do, but these are the two scenes that I immediately jump to whenever I think of this movie, is Stuck in the Middle with You. And I grew up hearing that song a little bit on the radio when my mom would listen to classics or on the rock station, but I didn't listen to it. I didn't hear it enough for it to be beyond just like faintly recognizable. And then I saw this movie, and that scene of, Michael Madsen being, what was his name? Not Vincent. He's the other one.
Vic
Vega.
Yeah.
He's John Travolta's brother from Pulp Fiction.
Oh.
In Pulp Fiction, John Travolta plays Vincent Vega.
Oh.
In this movie, Michael Madsen is Vic Vega.
Mm.
Anyways, so they the way he tortures this cop, cuts off his ear, dances, and kind of sings along and shuffles.
Mm-hmm.
There's never been a time that song comes on where I don't immediately start pretending to be Michael Madsen and like smooth my hair back and like shuffle dancing. And like, what's weird is that like, I know this is like kind of psychotic, but to people who have not seen Reservoir Dogs before or something like that,
you just look like a goof.
I just look at them the way he looks at the cop, right? And like, and I'm just dancing around them and shuffling with them, and they're like laughing at me. I'm like, you have no idea. Like, you have no idea that like I'm about to cut off your ear. Like, but like it just, do you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like, I think the same effect as other movies like Kill Bill has when you hear that, like, it is a famous song or like, music snippets, not a song or a music snippet, but the Kill Bill, like sirens, like the siren sound. And then it's like the bass strumming and the drums, and then it culminates in the it's like that was originally from like some kind of 70s show or 80s or 60s show. I can't remember which one,
like some cop show or
it was, yeah. But like he took it, used it in Kill Bill, and now it's all anyone thinks about when they hear that, that siren. Everyone immediately thinks about the camera zoom on like just eyes, serious focus, and like back and forth before like the fight breaks out. And I don't know, like he that's just what he does. Like he knows exactly what music or sounds to use to make a very incredibly memorable scene.
We're jumping over to another movie now a little bit, but I was wondering about when did anime start compared to him? Like
anime?
Like those, like I was just thinking about the way he films Kill Bill, like with those like punch-ins on the face and stuff and all that stuff, is like the way that I wonder if he shaped any of the anime stuff, or if the anime, because it just that style, that's how it feels like the style is.
Okay.
Did one influence the other? That's
yes.
all I'm saying.
Yes, and yes.
Yeah.
But it's very hard to like. So, all right, tangent here before we get in. But this is what it is. Brews and Reviews is about going into the movies and the details. So, Kill Bill is supposed to be essentially a Western, like an assassin Western, right? A culmination of all these violent 70s B movies that were garbage, that had hot chicks who knew karate and kung fu. Because it was a genre that just kept on building itself, right? You had kung fu movies, but then kung fu movies became like kung fu action movies. And then like kung fu action movies became like hot babes in skin tight motorcycle suits doing kung fu in action. And it just like, it became, like memoriam to itself, right? And so like Kill Bill is supposed to be kind of paying homage to like all of these classic signature styles. So like if you think about it, like Kill Bill came out in like what, 2000 something?
2003, which is fine. Yeah, 'cause in my mind, it's always older.
Well,
because
feels
it's
older.
in that style.
It feels older because the way the camera pans in is the same way the camera pans in on Clint Eastwood and The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. You know what I mean? Like it's the same thing, same camera moves. In the whole thing, like the Western genre is inspired by like essentially the Japanese samurai movies of like the 1940s.
Right.
Like those movies, like the Seven Samurai movie is what got translated into the Magnificent Seven in America.
Right.
And so like all of them do have that kind of vibe. And of course, anime is going to look a lot like the real life techniques they used in film.
Right.
So that's why it all looks like that. Also Kill Bill though on the DVDs If anyone has any of them anymore, you could probably watch it on YouTube, the DVD intro to Kill Bill. But like the DVD intro to Kill Bill was just an animated, violent, graphic, animated, I don't know, intro on repeat of all of the assassins like getting hits. And so like it was very like, I don't know, over the top exaggerated animation, you know, that you would see like for if it was a animated show in Japan.
Right.
So that, but which was cool. I just remember that really always sticking out. Like it was really weird. Like they drew it so well of like one of the assassins fires a round out of a sniper rifle, and, like travels down this street and through the front windshield of this limo, past a bunch of people in it, into the head of this Japanese businessman with like 2 prostitutes by his side, and, you know, kills him. Right. And it was like one of those things I was like, oh, it is a real live action movie, but this is just like the inspiration of like what it was on TV or something, you know? Okay. All right. Back to the movie though. Reservoir Dogs. Reservoir Dogs. If you haven't seen it, sorry, some spoilers there. Don't care. You know what you're getting in for.
You've had a few years to see it.
Yeah. When you get in on a Brews and Reviews, you know we're going to review the movie, not spoiler free. But Reservoir Dogs came out in 1992 and directed by Quentin Tarantino. It's an ensemble movie, but you could argue that Harvey Keitel and Tim Roth kind of share the lead spotlight. Harvey Keitel especially because he came on as a producer and co-produced it, and he probably brought in like half the budget because he was already pretty big for his time. But the ensemble cast: Michael Madsen, who plays Mr. Blonde, Chris Penn, who plays Nice Guy Eddie, Steve Buscemi, Steve Buscemi. Plays Mr. Pink. Quentin Tarantino, who plays Mr. Brown. Eddie Bunker played Mr. Blue, and Lawrence Tierney, who plays Joe. And essentially, the plot summary of the movie, you know, the way I boil it down is it's a whodunit film, but it's kind of turned on its head because rather than a cop or detective trying to find out who done it, it's the survivors of this heist that went wrong trying to figure out which one of them is a cop that set them up. The $1.2 million film stays grounded while maximizing scenes and confined and believable set pieces with a cast that really lays it all out on the line. I gotta say, like, I don't think there was a flat actor. Like, I can't think of anyone who I was like, oh my God, this guy freaking sucks. Like, I think everyone was definitely like giving it their all and believable. And then I think the real standouts to me of like just like it doesn't feel like they're acting at all. It doesn't almost feel like you're watching a movie. It almost could be like you're watching a real person. Like this is recorded footage of this dude really in the situation. I think Steve Buscemi just crushes it.
Old crazy eyes.
And then the cop Marvin Nash, who I don't know his actor's name. But that cop, when they cut off his ear and he turns and starts talking to Mr. Orange, Tim Roth's character, he started like for the longest time I was like, why does he talk like that? And then I was just watching it the other night and I was like, oh, he talks like that because he's deaf.
Yeah, because his ears
like his jaw is all slow because he can hear himself in one ear and not in the other. And so he's talking like a deaf guy. But for the longest time I was like, is this him talking because he's beat up and in pain? Because before he cuts his ear off, he sounds totally normal, like a normal dude.
Right.
Which I just thought that was really good acting, you know, very aware. But what about you? What are your thoughts, Pat? Who's kind of the best performances? We already kind of, you know, broke down some of our favorite scenes, but
yeah, Steve Buscemi is always like, I think he's I don't know if I've seen something he's been in that I didn't like or that wasn't believable for his role.
Yeah.
Like he always adds to, first of all, he's one of those guys too that's just like, he's a movie star because he doesn't look like a movie star. Yeah. You know, he's got weird features. And so like, but they always, it plays to his favor.
Yeah.
Like even I watched the other night, not speaking of facial features, but his voice, I watched with my boys Monsters Incorporated, which he plays Randall, the main bad lizard.
Bro, I didn't know what you were talking about when you said Monsters Incorporated. You threw me for a loop.
No, Monsters Inc. So he was watching Monsters Inc. and he's the bad guy in it, and he's just his voice. He's just scary.
But Randall's got those big lizard eyes.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's Steve Buscemi's face. Like, you know, that's the way Steve Buscemi's squinting his eyes.
And he, so, you know,
Wazowski.
And I don't know how much he was in before this, but then, I think
definitely feels like an early role for him.
Yeah. And same with Tim Roth. I think it was one of his first big roles. To break. And he's not American, right?
He's British.
Yeah. So he had to, you know.
His performance is still what I really do compare a lot of like shot performances to.
Mm-hmm.
Like the way he is reacting, grinding his teeth, can't talk, struggling to like get his face to like work so he can talk while being gut shot in the back of that car. I was just like, and like the way I remember the way he squirmed, dude.
It's
way
painful.
He squirmed, like you're just like, oh my gosh, that's what it's like to be shot.
It's not like when Bruce Willis gets shot.
It's not, or like when Bruce Willis is holding somebody who else has got shot. It's like, get him for me, Bruce.
Yeah, yeah.
Like the slurring and like the spittle coming out between his teeth, grinding.
Just all messed up.
Like, dude, that is so visceral and feels very real. Feels like he's dying. You know what I mean?
And like he was terrified and scared.
Yeah, really scared.
You know, and so that performance. And then the Chris Penn though, who is plays nice guy Eddie.
Sean
funny.
Penn's brother.
He always looks to me. He looks like the kid from Sandlot grew up. What's the kid's name? Who's the catcher?
I don't know.
But you know what I'm talking about.
Chunk?
Not Chunk, but the Chunk kid.
Wasn't Chunk? Oh no, he was
Chunk. Yeah,
he was umpire.
Yeah, but when he grows up, like the something about his voice is so, even he's like this gangster's son, and he's a scary dude with a lot of power, but he has this like boy voice, and it's not a bad thing.
Well, it's also that
just
he calls
really
his
like
father daddy.
He calls his father daddy, but like, and it's not like he's it works well. It's like this. I don't know, but I think everybody's performance was great. You know, even Mr. Blues. You know,
I feel bummed because I did see the uncut like extended version or whatever, and he definitely had like a few more lines.
Yeah,
and he definitely had a scene where like you see him get shot.
Oh yeah,
and he's dead. I guess Eddie Bunker just didn't have much of like they had to cut a lot out for the film's runtime. I guess
and that's the thing about Tarantino too, where he likes to leave a lot unsaid, undone, unknown. And the probably the worst performance in it all, not that any of them are good or bad, would be like Tarantino.
Yeah,
it was like, I think if we watched it for the first time, not knowing that was Tarantino, you'd be like, who's that guy?
This guy's pretty eccentric.
Like this guy's like,
that's Tarantino in all of his movies. He always plays like such a really pushy, like douche
and sneery.
Yeah, so sneery and such like so condescending. Like Pulp Fiction, he's that dude that they drive to like get the car cleaned and get themselves cleaned up. Harvey Keitel is in that and is the cleaner that washes them down and has them clean their car. And in that he's like such an asshole, and like he's like, my wife's gonna be home from her shift as a nurse in like 2 hours. Like, you guys all look, he says like. He says something like, you guys look like a bunch of like faggots or something in my TV shirts. You're just like, gosh, dude, I literally just watched John Travolta accidentally blow the brains out of a guy's head, and Quentin Tarantino is more of an asshole somehow.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
And he I wonder if in this movie he wanted to play Mr. Pink.
He did originally, yeah,
and he didn't. But I don't, in almost all of his movies going forward, he plays a very like non-involved bit piece role,
Yeah.
almost cameo-esque in some.
Django, he's one of the Australian slavers.
It just gets blown up in like a couple minutes.
Yeah.
Right. And so I wonder if like prior to this movie, how much acting prospects he had in his, and then after this movie, he saw himself on the screen for like 5 minutes and was like, I think that'll be great. That's what I'm going to do from now on. And then like, I wonder if from then on, he was like, yeah, I'll just play a small role. I think that's great. I'm going to focus on the story.
Which is like where he's shines, man. Like I remember being skeptical about, I wasn't the biggest Inglourious Basterds fan.
Mm-hmm.
I also think I watched it too young and was pretty confused.
Yeah.
I watched that movie now and I'm like, I get it. I understand this is not supposed to be taken as a real thing that happened.
You can watch it without the violence just being like the only
reason you went to go see
Yeah.
it or whatever. You know what I mean? Like I mean, when I went to go saw it, I thought it was going to be like a Saving Private Ryan movie.
Right.
I did not know it was going to be like this comedic, dark ensemble movie, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But seeing, I remember I was skeptical about Hateful Eight.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, gosh, I hope it's good. I didn't really like Inglourious Basterds when it came out.
Mm-hmm.
I hope Hateful Eight is good. And I remember Hateful Eight just blew my socks off, dude. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that movie is essentially Reservoir Dogs, Wild West, and a haberdashery.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that movie's storytelling is phenomenal. I think the many, many aspects of like, I don't know what's happening. I don't know if that guy's being truthful. He might have just lied to get under that dude's skin.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just, it was amazing. And it kept me biting my nails. And it's one of those movies that like when they did it where it came out in 4 parts for the extended version,
Mm-hmm.
dude, I watch that almost once a year. And like it's on Netflix or HBO.
Mm-hmm.
And I just like throw on part 1 on like December 22nd. And you know, by Christmas night, I'm watching part 4. And dude, I love that. I love that movie so much.
That's your Christmas
Dude,
movie.
it's honestly like thrilling though when like I don't know, like when we broke it down into parts and watched it over a couple of days
Mm-hmm.
with like my wife and my mom and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
they were like on the edge of their seats of like who is doing it, who's what, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and they just like, even though it was violent, it was way more violent than they wanted it to be.
Mm-hmm.
They still were very like on the
Keyed
edge of the
into the
seat,
story.
looking forward to like who is gonna get away, who's gonna live.
Mm-hmm.
And Tarantino doesn't play by the rules, man. Like when, you know, spoilers for Pulp Fiction, and have you seen Hateful Eight?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, spoilers for those two movies. He kills the leads. He kills
Mhm.
whoever you think the main character is off pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I remember in Pulp Fiction watching it, and I always thought John Travolta, Samuel L. Jackson are the leads. They're the main characters.
Mhm.
Everything is resolving around them. And then you watch Bruce Willis mow John Travolta down with a Mac-10 at point blank range
Mm-hmm.
into the bathtub. And it's insanely brutal. And like, as a viewer, you're like, they just killed the
It breaks
main
your
character.
concept of storytelling.
Yeah. And then Hateful Eight, you know, you would swear to God that Kurt Russell's the main character protagonist in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And he dies like third of the way in.
Mm-hmm.
Like brutal, poison, no doubt dead.
He's just done.
And I just remember I'm just like, oh, that's right. I forgot Tarantino just literally will kill the main character 30 minutes into the movie, an hour into the movie. It just shock you. And I think that's kind of what he does in this movie too, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
you don't really expect certain people to be dead.
Mm-hmm.
And then like as it goes on, you're kind of left, you know, you're left out there on the line really wondering who it is. I guess when the first time you saw the movie,
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious, who did you think was the cop the first time before it's revealed?
I'm trying to remember. Because it's been so long, so I've always known it's been, you know, Mr. Orange, but I probably was thinking that it was Mr. White because of
Yeah.
his humanity.
I remember thinking it was Mr. White, not as like a cop, but as like an informant, you know, like
Mhm.
to get out of doing time, he's turning in Joe.
Mm-hmm.
And just like, and I thought that was like, they're looking for this cop the whole time. And what they're not looking for is a one of them that's been flipped
Mm-hmm.
to get a better sentencing.
Right.
And then when it was revealed that it was Mr. Orange, I was like, damn, Well, it could have been Mr. White, and then Mr. White, like, literally, 2 silver baller sends 30 rounds of 45 into those 2 cops. And I was like, oh no, it wasn't Mr. White.
Yeah.
It was,
Yeah.
But I just remember thinking that, and I thought it was Mr. White for a long time. I never once thought it was Mr. Pink. Like,
Right.
He just seemed too intelligent and too common sense. Like, we should leave.
Yeah.
And a cop would be saying we should stay.
Yep. And he was bad. You can tell he's just all about the life and
But he wasn't like
pragmatically.
He wasn't like a bad guy. I felt like I didn't feel like Steve Buscemi was a bad guy. He's a thief, but he's not a bad guy.
Right. Yeah. Like he's not evil. He's just like,
he's not Mr. Blonde trying to gun down everyone just for breaking, not following the rules.
Yep. The scene when with the ear cut off.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember? I'm trying to remember. There's I saw a Tarantino interview or something where he was talking about why they actually panned away from the ear. And I can't remember.
I think it was because it was gonna get like an X rating or something if they showed it. But also, like, it seems like I think they panned away a couple times because, like, it's on record that apparently Michael Madsen really struggled with doing it. And then I guess also that Michael Madsen and Marvin Nash's actor weren't actually always on set. Like, there was one time when, like, they just had, I guess, Michael Madsen standing on the chair, like one leg on the chair, leaning forward and moving his hands, and then they literally cut the film so that way Marvin Nash would be there. And you can kind of see it in a couple spots where, like, the backdrop is very blurred out, like a very sharp blur between the backdrop and then, like, Marvin's face. It's especially clear when he's, like, talking to Mr. Orange. Right. Like, Mr. Orange is laying on the ground, Marvin's talking to him, and then, like,
it's super blurry.
Yeah, like,
but
Mr.
only half
Orange,
the screen.
Yeah, Mr. Orange is in clear view, Marvin's in clear view, but the background behind Marvin's like a weird, like, blur, kind of like paintbrush effect almost, right? And I don't know for sure, but, like, I feel like it was also to, like, how do you make that look real and not just look like he's cutting Play-Doh?
Yeah.
If it's like a live cutting.
Yeah, I thought they actually, like, I thought part of it was that the leaving it to the imagination made it even worse.
Yeah, I remember the first time I was really confused, and then when, like, oh my gosh, dude, when
you're like, oh, he's slitting his throat, which is horrible, and then you're like, oh, he cut his ear off, that's even worse,
dude, And I didn't realize he cut his ear off until he's like, he's like, testing, can you hear me?
Yeah, gosh,
throws it, and you hear like the.
Yeah, it's gross.
I was just like, oh my, he's so brutal, dude. And
those scenes make me feel sick now compared to when I watched them when I was younger.
They make you feel sick?
Like now, like something about my like.
I feel like it's twisted, but I'm also just like, just as good as the first time.
Yeah, well, not sick as much, not like, but there's something. I think it's since my prefrontal cortex is now fully developed.
Oh yeah,
there's just something about watching those types of scenes in movies that are just like, oh my god, it really gets to me. Versus like when I watched when I was 18, I was like, yeah, that's gross and like shocking. Versus now, it just is like,
yeah,
it gets you.
As many of the gun tubers are keen to say, I had access to Live Leak as a child and watched way too much internet videos, and that ruined me forever.
Yeah,
I think seeing people get their heads cut off on Live Leak really is what made me, like, desensitized for sure to, like, normal movie violence. Do you need help? You need help cracking that open?
I'm good. I have a hangnail.
I was gonna say you look like your nails are hurting you.
I got it. I'm a man. I can open this beer myself.
Yeah, but don't crack a nail over it, buddy.
It's already cracked. That's the problem. All right. I was wondering too, like, this is a classic Tarantino thing, is like he's always using too much blood for, like, whatever the wound is most of the time, and I feel like it starts here in this movie with Tim Roth. Like, by the end, there is a And
Tim Roth's bleeding out of his gut is a lot of blood.
Blood spreads out fast, and there's always like, if someone hits their head on the ground, like from a bike accident, there's blood on the ground, you're usually like stunned, like, wow, that's a lot of blood really fast.
Yeah.
But this is like, oh, he's dead 3 times.
I don't think it was, man, because one of the trivia points, they had an EMT on set the whole time to let them know how much was like realistic and how much was not.
Yeah, by the end though, that thing was,
I think it was realistic.
Yeah.
I think that's part of the reason why, spoiler alert, Mr. Orange tells Mr. White that he's a cop. Like,
he knows he's dead at the end.
I think part of it is he knows, like, even if the cops get in there right now, he just got shot a second time. He's not bleeding a lot from that wound. It's because he ain't got much left to go, right?
Yeah.
And, like, he just watched Mr. White, Larry, take a bullet for him and kill his lifelong, employer friend.
Yeah.
And Tarantino says it's called Junji or Yunyi in Japanese. It doesn't have a direct to English translation, but it's essentially like the requirement to do the honorable thing even at one's own harm. And so when Mr. Orange confesses that he's the cop to Mr. White, well before the police get in there, it's him saying, like, I'm doing this to give you an opportunity to do whatever you think is justified. Because you've earned every right to make a decision of what happens to me. Like the way you've cared for me and the way you just killed for me and the fact that I've lied to you, you have every right to essentially judge me, execute me, right? And I think, like, yes, a part of that is the honor sake of, like, feeling indebted. Like, man, this dude just killed his best friend for me and got shot for me. However, I think the other part of it is I'm dead. I'm so dead. Like, it's over. Can't feel my legs. I feel like I'm 60 degrees warm. It's over. And so, and like, what do you think? The camera doesn't show it, but you hear a lot of gunshots.
Yep.
And Mr. White looks like he goes down and gets shot. Do you think he kills Mr. Orange?
I think he pulled it. Yeah. I think he shot him in the head. Yeah. And then he gets lit up. But here's what's going on while they're talking. There's sirens and yelling and shooting in the background.
So this is a lot of people, a lot of conjecture over it. I know Quentin Tarantino has actually said, given his definitive answer to it, but do you think Mr. Pink is alive or dead? Do you think he gets away? Do you think he gets shot?
It's dead or alive, I don't know, but I don't think he got away with the diamonds. I'll say that much. Yeah. And I think he got a couple holes poked in him.
Do you think he died or do you think he lived?
I'm trying to think. You hear the funny thing is there's lots of firing and then you hear his voice once or twice.
Yeah. He says, stop shooting, I'm shot, or something like that.
So, I mean, like, from Tarantino movies, you can't approach them like how you approach modern movies now, where you're like, guns only have, like a revolver has 6 rounds, and if you were shot in this location, you'd need a tourniquet within 3 minutes.
I feel like he follows rules, though.
Well, he does.
I think he does.
He does follow rules, but he leans more towards the art side. Like compared to now, where it's like,
I mean, he makes it look like if you get shot with like a 30 caliber revolver ball ammo, that you just got hit with a 50 cal.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like in Django.
Yeah. Yeah. Like that sort of stuff. And so, point being, like, he doesn't care about that stuff as much as he cares about what's the story and the art that's going on. And so, yeah, like I said, it sounds like he got shot, but I don't know if he lived or died.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there more shooting after he says,
nope,
I got shot?
No. No. Do you want to know the official word?
What's the official word?
Tarantino's official word is that he wanted Mr. Pink to be the only survivor. So Mr. Pink is the only one that lives. He gets arrested, doesn't get away.
That's what I was thinking.
But he doesn't die.
Okay.
Which I get. I think it's cool. And I think that's pretty cool that Steve Buscemi is that guy. Like, he seems the only one, like, he's the smartest one, saying we should get out of here.
Yeah.
And I think it's fitting that he's the only one that really gets away with it. Yeah, I also really liked how Mr. Orange though didn't. In the end, he didn't beg for his life.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't like, Larry, what are you doing? What are you doing, Larry? Don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
He just like when Mr. White puts that gun to his head,
Mm-hmm.
he just says, "I'm sorry, Larry. I'm sorry,"
Mm-hmm.
and knows like he accepts.
Mm-hmm.
And I really liked that because it feels like in a lot of these types of movies they like really try to show like this cop is getting too dirty. He's really struggling. He likes his criminal buddies.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't want them to get shot or die or whatever. And it's like, okay, whatever. But this really seems like a self-sacrifice almost of like, you should know. You should know the truth before it's over.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you're so good because of what you've done for me that you have every right to take my life too.
Mm-hmm.
And like for me, that just always like that kind of rings out as like a very definitive thing of like imagine like someone's got a gun to your head.
Mm-hmm.
How much would that person have had to done for you? And how much guilt would you have to not even beg for your life? To just be like, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, go ahead, do it. You have every right to. I'm sorry.
Yep.
And I just think like to see a cop flip that way was pretty powerful.
I agree.
All right. Go ahead.
I when I just rewatched it, I'd forgotten that the cop who gets tortured, I'd forgotten that he did know that Mr. Orange was a cop. Like he was holding out.
And he was a tough cookie too.
Yeah,
I forgot about that as well.
Like he wasn't like I'd forgotten that he just I thought I was like, this poor bastard just doesn't know.
Yeah.
And he's screwed. But it was like, no, he actually like he was holding out.
And that's what it makes. I feel like it'd be easier to hold out too if like that person was right in front of you.
Yeah.
But he didn't think Mr. Orange was even probably still alive. You thought he was dead, but he still kept his mouth shut just in case.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, and when Mr. Orange guns down Mr. Blonde, like such a feels good scene, feels justified, like stopping that, like because you're like, no, dude, don't light him on fire. I don't want to see this guy burn in this chair. Oh man, it was great. What'd you think about Mr. Pink's philosophy on tipping? I know a lot of people reference the tipping conversation at the beginning as like a real like, yeah, Reservoir Dogs is why I don't tip, or Reservoir Dogs is why I tip.
And it's become, I feel like it's even become more prevalent. Like when they filmed this, they
tipping
had,
fatigue.
Yeah, they had no idea that.
Bro,
like,
the fact that they said, yeah, if she's doing a great job, I'm going to tip her 12%. I'm like,
yeah,
damn, bro, I can't remember the last time I tipped 12%. I feel like I have to tip 20.
Like if they spit in your food, you tip 12. You know, like if they curse your mother, you tip 12%. But or like if you're at Dutch Bros, an iPad gets shoved in your face with like a giant box that says 30%. And they're always like, whatever you want, bro, just click it. And you're like,
I just say I don't tip, bro.
Yeah.
Here's my thing, man.
What's your philosophy on tipping?
My philosophy on tipping is if someone is doing an act of service and they're doing it well, such as waiter, waitress coming around, filling up my coffee, bringing me my food, explaining the orders or, what they have available as beverages or whatever, and being like friendly and patient. That is service. That is good service. And I am happy to reward it with a special tip, What's
a special tip percentage?
Here's my thing. And maybe my philosophy is challenged now and I'll change it, but I either tip 20 or nothing. Like either the service is good enough for 20%, which is usually, I'm not really that particular. It's like,
right.
Do you come by and fill up my drink? Do you have patience and explain to me I don't even care if you have it memorized or not. I don't care if you literally pull out a piece of paper and like specials today are like just the fact that you're willing to explain it to me and stuff and have good service. I give them 20% if they do that. And if they never check on our table, if our food is cold and look, I worked in the serving industry. The kitchen's usually not usually half cooking food and bringing it out and putting it lukewarm.
Mm-hmm.
Food is cold because the waiter or waitress didn't get to it on time to bring it out. I was a waiter. You know what I mean? Like, I know when I dropped the ball and I got out mediocre, like cold food to like a customer.
Except for when they put if you're serving a whole table, sometimes the kitchen can screw you.
They can when like they get something out real early and everything else is taking a while to cook. But at that point, I don't know. That's really rare.
Yeah.
I feel like that never really happened much. Even on like my 6 top tables, I feel like all the food was usually ready to go right then and there, bussing. But also like bartenders, I don't want to wait to order a drink.
Right.
Like, I'm not going to leave it a tip for anyone. If I have to stand at that bar for 5 minutes before I even get before you acknowledge I'm there.
Yeah.
Like, dude, you're not getting any money. You're getting no tips. Surprisingly, like I don't think I've ever tipped a male bartender.
Ever.
Male bartenders have never like come to, and I think it's because I just look like, I don't know.
Because of their service.
Yeah, their service has been bad. Like male bartenders have never gone to me, at least as far as I can recall in our, college town here. They've never brought a drink to me in under like, not even brought a drink. They've never taken my order in under 5 minutes. And I have like literally watched them, just talking to and flirting with girls, hopefully get a tip. I'm like, dude, those girls don't have money. Those girls are here getting their drinks paid for. Those girls aren't tipping you. I will give you a tip if you just get me a fucking beer. Yep. But like I actually know a couple of bartenders by name who habitually went out of their way when they like recognized me. I don't know if they knew my name or anything like that, but they knew I was at that bar last week or last weekend or whatever. They knew my buddy maybe, and they're like, I will get you a drink. We're really busy. What do you want? It might be a couple minutes before I get it out to you. Right. I'm like, thank you.
That's tippable.
Yes, that's awesome. And then delivery. I always tip a driver or delivery, but I only tip them in cash because I've noticed that if you don't tip enough, they go like it, depending on what tip you leave on all these apps and stuff. Yeah, that dictates like if anyone's going to pick up your food and how quickly it's going to get to you. Yeah.
So here's some of my
total tangent, but I'm all here for it.
Because this is the real life application of the Mick Pat show.
This is the real life application of Reservoir Dogs. How do we tip in this country now with tipping fatigue?
And so I'll start with where you're at and work my way backwards. So delivery. Okay. In general, what I hate right now is when people ask for tips before the service is done.
Yeah, it doesn't happen for me.
But like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like...
Yeah, they're like, tip your driver. I'm like, I will when he gets here with the food.
When it's, yeah, exactly. And I've seen that in even just... or I was somewhere the other day where it was same thing, like, do you want a tip for this? And I'm just like, well, the service hasn't been provided yet, and I still did or whatever. But that one bugs me.
Yeah.
Bartenders, I tip. I usually... tip hard right out the gate if I'm going to be there for a while. If I'm on a date and or if I've got friends with me, I throw the 10 or the 20 out right away.
Yeah.
And then you have their service the rest of the night.
Yep.
But if it's just solo, usually I tip $1 a drink. Like if I order a beer for $4 or if I order a $20,
cocktail,
pour of whiskey.
Yeah.
$1. Like that's like, it's just like $1 for you made $1 for 60 seconds. That's if I wish I was making
great return.
I wish I was making $60
an hour.
$60 an hour, exactly.
Wait a second, Pat. You do make $60 an hour according to your company's profits and the amount of time you spend on site.
Yeah, it's not the amount of time I spend on back office and other things.
Yeah.
But this is true. I wish, but so good money, $1 an hour, and then for in general in the industry, what bugs me is. There are still hourly salaries based on tipping.
Yeah.
Minimum wage. So for me, I wish I knew.
And
like
Mr. Pink said, that's not my fault.
Right.
Give me a, I'll vote for it. I'll sign a bill. That's not my fault though. Yeah. And I shouldn't be required to pay the bill.
But I just wish I knew. Like, so when I go to a restaurant, I know that waitress makes, less than minimum wage. Because their wage is based off of planned on getting tips.
Yep.
When I go to other places, even like I mentioned Dutch Bros earlier. I think Dutch Bros is like, it's a set. It's like, it's at least minimum wage, usually more per hour.
Yeah.
And then you make tips on top of it or whatever. Places in general that have, I wish I knew if that individual's salary was based off of getting tipped, because then I'm more likely to tip, because I'm like, you're making $4.75 an hour, I'm tipping.
Bro, you know what made me actually stop going to one of the places locally? I won't say the place on air, but I saw that there was an extra like $8 on a $40 bill that was just like not explained,
like mandatory gratuity, COVID charge,
whatever, right? And like I asked him about it, like, oh, that's the 20% that goes to the kitchen. I was like, the fuck? I know kitchen guys are getting paid a salary. Like, I know they're getting paid an hourly wage. Yeah. I remember in the kitchen when I was in high school, I was making $12 an hour.
Right.
And versus, my $7 whatever an hour. We didn't get tips as waiters. So it was like $7 an hour or whatever, right? And I was just like, whatever they're making now, I know is more than that and is more than minimum wage. The kitchen doesn't need 20% of my bill.
Right.
And because they're getting that, like, I do not want to tip you another 20%.
Yeah.
Like, that's ridiculous. And so I stopped going there. I was just like, wow, that's really shit. I wish I would have known about that beforehand, because I don't. And I told him, I was like, that was what I was going to tip. And I don't really have. I'm not going to spend another $10 just on a tip because you guys already took $10
as a tip.
As a tip. So,
forced tipping. It's like,
and I was like, and they were like, they tried to explain it to me, and I was like, that's all right. I just won't be coming back.
Yeah.
And I noticed a couple other places do it, and it's like, 5 to 8% at these other places, which I'm like, you know what? I get it. There's competition for, back staff.
Put it in the price on the menu.
Yeah, incorporate it into your price. I get what it is, but like you got to like incorporate it into the price,
because we got to know what we're paying on the front end.
Yeah, it feels so dishonest.
Yeah, because we got to know what we're paying on the front end when we say what we're getting.
Do you vary your percentage of tips for like waiters and waitresses? Because like I said, I only do. It's either you're good enough for 20 or you weren't good at all.
If it's like if it's like a work day, I'm swinging through a lunch spot that does tipping. Especially here's another part. If it's a behind the counter job, I'm usually tipping 10%.
I don't tip at all behind the counter. So, I don't tip for McDonald's. Why would I tip you?
Yeah. So if it's a behind the counter job, I should say sometimes I'll tip like 10%. Or nothing.
I might.
If it's an in front of the counter job, I'm pushing towards 20. And then if they're behind the counter and they know the menu really well, and if I say, here's my test with them too, is like, man, I'm new here. What do you recommend? And they don't recommend the most expensive item. Like they actually just recommend something they like. I'm like, that's worth a tip. I'll give you like 5-10%. Yeah. And so, and like if that person's running the whole shop, they're prepping, they're doing the whole deal. And then if they're in front of the counter, 20%. If it's an evening out, or if I'm on a date, usually I tip pretty good. Like have you
ever done more than 20? I've never tipped more than 20. These places are like 35% tip at chicken store number 2. I'm like, I'm not tipping you 35%, dog.
I've hit a 50 to 100 on a couple times.
50 to 100%?
Yeah.
What?
It's not all the time. Here's the deal. It's like
she was hot. That's what it was.
No,
I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
Don't tease it.
It's like on a date night, we're going out, we're spending the money, and this person made it happen for us. I didn't wait a second for anything. We enjoyed ourselves. Everything was full the whole time. Like 50%. Boom. Like that. I will like, sometimes I'll go up in that range just to like, and I should say on the 100%, I'm not tipping 100% on a $120 dinner bill. I'm tipping 100% on like
$20 bill.
Or or like sometimes like on like if I do a coffee or a beer and I'm there for like an hour or two, I'll tip them the full. I'll it's a $8 bill. I'll bump it up, whatever. I'll do that 50 to 100 on those sometimes if I'm mooching their space for a long time. Because also if you're sitting at a table, you're taking up their opportunity. So in my mind, I'm like, all right,
I get that.
I'm gonna tip you another tip because I took this seat for so long. So
Yeah,
that's that.
I do have a philosophy in regards to like, if I'm using coupons that essentially make my meal free.
Yep.
I'll give like up to 50% of the meal cost to the tip.
Yep. You got to tip good on the coupon.
Yep. But anyways, long
Reservoir
tangent.
Dogs.
I'm a believer in Mr. Pink though. I'm starting to like, I've got such harsh tipping fatigue that like compared to probably what most people tip and what people are asking for, I'm a snob, dude. I don't tip like that. I can't remember the last time I left any tip for anyone behind the counter. You know, like like I said, if they did a really good job explaining things to me, they didn't try to like upsell me. They were just, you know, genuine and stuff like that. Then I might give them a 10%.
Your boss, your business owner needs to work out the prices correctly and stick them on the menu sign and not put the burden on the consumer.
Yeah, dude. Which you
actually still do. We just don't know it.
Yeah, and like
I'd rather not even know it.
The thing is, though, I wouldn't go if they incorporated. Like, imagine they averaged out a 35% tip from the orders and adjusted the prices by that. I would stop going.
Right.
And I just think there's a lot of suckers, dude. Dude, I love my wife, Billie Jean, but Billie Jean's a sucker for the tip pressure, dude.
If they raise
they
them,
flip it to her and they're like, "Oh, would you just click here, please?" And like, just a couple questions for you, and then they turn and look away and they hold it. And Billie Jean's like, I don't want to hurt their feelings. I guess I'll give them something. I'm like, honey, no, we give them nothing. We like click other. And then we type in 0 and then we click green check mark because you know why? Because they're fucking Wendy's, dog. They're just by another name, dude. She's gotten really good at it. Like, you know what I mean? I've like backed her up and like it was weird. Like it was like a Karate Kid moment. I remember she was like paying with the debit card and she swiped the debit card and they turned around and she looked at me and I looked at her and I like nodded like Mr. Miyagi and she
sweep the leg.
Yeah, she like clicked other and like typed in the 0 and she looked at me again and I was like,
no mercy.
Oh, wait, break his leg. Like submit, you know. And I'm just like, I remember she's like, I just feel so bad. I'm like, honey, they're not gonna even bring us our food. They're gonna yell our name and we're gonna walk up and get the food. Like, what are we tipping for? You know. It's so I've been shocked too at like the audacity of these delivery drivers. We've gotten to the point now where we're like, we'll put it in the notes for the Uber driver or whatever. We don't even do the ordering much anymore just because we're just like,
it's brutal.
Pizza drivers are still great about it. Pizza drivers are like, yeah, I'm going to get a cash tip because I'm going to get your pizza there in under 30 minutes.
Right.
But like crackhead Joe, who's, you know, borrowing his car from someone else to do Uber so he can get another like, you know, dose of a spoonful of meth coming up and he's like, you know, you should really give a tip beforehand so that way your food will get here quicker. And I'm just like, my drink's not here, man. I'm not giving you nothing now. Like, like my food's cold. I'm missing a drink. Like the food is 40 minutes late. Like I'm not giving you anything, bro. I already ate. I thought my food was gone. You know, it's so like it's one of those things where I'm pretty harsh about it. Like when it comes to like the delivery drivers too.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I give them anytime a delivery driver just does their bare minimum job. I give them a thing. Yeah. Anytime stuff is missing from my food like order and it's there late and it's cold, I'm like, dude, you shouldn't have accepted it, bro. It comes up on your phone to accept. You choose to accept it or not. If you know you're on a 60-minute circuit and you're not getting my food to me for an hour. Don't accept it.
Yep.
You know? Anyways, all that said, I'm a Mr. Pink stan. And like Mr. Orange, he convinced me, give me my $1 back.
Yeah. Yeah, for real. Oh, man. That is funny.
Reservoir Dogs, what are your thoughts, Pat?
I think it's probably become canon in some ways to like just here's how you tell a story. Very basic, bare bones. Like there was
I think it's Memento before Memento.
Yeah, there was money put into it, but really not at all. Like as far as the sets, actually, there's no like wild chase scenes, shoot 'em up scenes. Like
there's like a little bit,
right? But it is not these long gun battles. No. It's just a pop, 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 squib, squib, squib. Okay, that's it. Light another cigarette. It's all dialogue. They're. When I was saying, I see this movie as really a playwright. It could be done on a stage.
Yeah.
And it could be
I think it has been.
And it could be just as powerful on a stage as it is on film. And so that's where it's, I think it's done really well in that way.
Yeah. What do you give it?
I give it, I think I'd give it 2 thumbs. I'm giving it 2 thumbs. You know?
It's an old dog and it's a sleeping dog, and but damn it if it's not a good dog.
Yep.
Hey, by the way, you can catch Tarantino's Reservoir Dogs on stage in Chicago, January 23rd, 2024.
Oh wow.
I would 100%. I'm a big play guy nowadays. I've realized. I I enjoy watching people like good stuff on the theater.
Yeah. Yep.
But it's like it's a good way. It's usually not more expensive than a movie. Sometimes cheaper.
And you get impressed.
I'm always impressed.
Yeah. You're like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
It's a great form of entertainment.
Yeah. Reservoir Dogs from Mick. Gonna get it 2 thumbs. I thought I might have some rose-colored lenses. Watched it the other night with the first timer, and he was like, "Dude, this movie's incredible." I get why everybody talks about it. Like this is, I can understand that it's older. It was made on a budget, but I see how everything has copied this as source material in one way or another for like these bank heist movies. And I was like, it's good. It's good to have like a freshie, giving me their opinion too while I'm on it.
So it's a $1.2 million budget.
Yeah.
2 years ago, I worked on a film with a $2 million budget, and it was
not as good.
It was really not as good, to say the least.
It's crazy. It's like, where the hell does this money go?
Yeah,
give me $2 million. I will make gold grow out of the ground.
I'll do something. Do something with it.
Yeah. So 4 thumbs from the Mick Pat show here. I got some trivia I'm going to go over real quick, just, for those who are still hanging around as we're wrapping up. And then, Pat, you can hit some goofs if you want.
Yeah. Let me hit these goofs first because they're a little bit uninspiring as much as the trivia might be. Okay. So, because here's the deal. So the scene where, Mr. Pink's getting ran down by the 3 cops, there is it's funny because it's bouncing back and forth where Mr. Pink is like booking it, and then the cops are running like a really slow pace.
I don't know. Some of those times though, those cops were dead sprinting.
Yeah, but it's because the editing together. There was a scene where they shot them both sprinting full speed, and another scene where they shot them both like kind of lolling. And so they just, the way they cut it together though was like, you're never going to catch that guy.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of that in this movie. A lot of like, this gun switched hands and this cigarette got smoked 48 times. And like there's a lot of stuff in this movie because once again, I think it's like Tarantino focuses on other aspects more than continuity. And continuity also has become such a stronger critique point in recent years. And so when Mr. Blonde duct tapes Nash's mouth shut, he tapes over the bottom half of his ear that he's about to cut off. And then it's down below it afterwards. That's a big one people pick up on. One that I picked up on the other night was when Mr. White and Mr. Pink are having their conversation in the bathroom and they're washing their hands. Harvey Keitel, Mr. White, they're doing this dialogue scene, one shot back and forth, and he's lighting Mr. Pink's cigarette, and he gets the lighter going, and he gets Mr. Pink's cigarette lit, and then he goes to light his own cigarette, but it doesn't light. And he stands there and acts like it's lit and smokes it, and even breathes out.
I also thought of that.
But he does it like, and it's not even lit, but he just rolls with it, and they kept it in the movie.
I also was so confused I had to Google it. Like, can you snap your fingers to light a butane gas lighter?
That's the way to do it if you're a gangster.
Yeah, it's true. I almost just like, why not just roll your wheel, dude?
Mm-hmm.
But like, you could legit like,
yeah, if you're a
that's
you're a
badass,
gangster,
bro. That makes me want to get a lighter
get a
just to
Zippo.
try it.
I do need to get back in the Zippo game.
Yeah, because you smoke so much.
I
And
know.
you need the Zippo for what?
Mhm.
Crawl space?
Yeah, that's how you die. You're gonna light someone's house on fire. You're gonna blow
Exactly.
yourself up with the fumes down there.
Exactly, man.
All right, so that's really all I've got for goofs. There's a whole list of stuff around continuity errors and things, but it doesn't really take away from the movie at all.
Such nerdy shit. Like when you're like, well, actually, that gun has 7 rounds, not 8. You know what I mean? Which is also like how, I mean, that's my biggest issue with movies is
now, yeah.
magical bullets. Trivia though, Madonna, who's of course the main topic of the opening conversation, where Quentin is saying the song "Like a Virgin" is about being railed so hard it feels like the first time. And gosh, I always forget how it's so vulgar. That scene is so flippin' vulgar the first time. You're always like, oh, I forgot. It opens up so brutally vulgar.
We were going to do this movie, right? So I turn it on. I'm like, I got to get this movie watched. And so I turned it on with my wife, and she hadn't seen it before. And she really wasn't ready to like sit down and watch a movie. And so like, I just like turn it on, and she's like, and we're just sitting there, and he opens up with this like monologue, and I'm just like,
dick.
I just turned it off, and like, it's like we watched something else, you know, like, we watched like Modern Family or something for
Masked
a few minutes.
Singer.
Then I went and watched it by myself later, but it was just like,
Did she give you a look?
No, but it was just kind of like, it was like the middle of the day. Like I was just going to watch half of it and then get back into it later, you know, and it was not the right, it wasn't fitting.
Yeah. Bro, also, did we pick a name for your wife?
We've not.
I nominate Mace Windu.
Mace Windu?
Yeah.
All right. All right. I like it.
I think Mace Windu is a good fit, don't you?
I think it's great. I'll remember it. Old Macy.
But
Mace
anyways, Madonna watched this, and she's disagreed with Quentin Tarantino's interpretation of the song "Like a Virgin." She gave him a copy of her erotica album signed to Quentin. It's not about dick. It's about love. Madonna. Which from Madonna is like, if I've seen anything in the last 10 years, it's that Madonna's music is almost always about dick.
Yeah, it's labeled erotic. Erotica is not about love.
Erotica is the opposite of love. Erotica is pure sexual stimulation. Anyways, Chris Penn's blood squibs accidentally go off too early during the big standoff scene, and he falls to the floor as a reaction from it. A lot of people believe there was an off-screen shot fired by Mr. Pink.
Okay, I watched this 40 times last night. I crap you not. I kept clicking back and watching.
Because Mr. White is a G, bro. Mr. White goes boom.
Yeah, I know, but I kept watching it, and I was like, "What is going on?"
I'm pretty sure the only person in that scene that fires 2 shots is Joe. Joe fires, hits orange, moves up, hits Mr. White as he's getting hit. And then Mr. White gets hit a second time from Nice Guy Eddie. Nice Guy Eddie just blows up. No one shoots him. He just blows up, dude. But like a lot of people, I always wondered as a kid, I was like, oh, Mr. Pink shot him from underneath the ramp there. Whatever. Like I never thought twice about it.
I literally watched it 40 times last night, and I was slowing it down, and I was like, I don't know what happened.
It was pretty sick scene though, right? It's a good standoff scene.
And if you just keep watching it, you're not.
I was kind of sad Chris Penn wasn't in more stuff. Like, I just thought he was good.
Like in more movies.
Yeah. I really believed it. Like when he's saying, "Stop pointing that gun at my daddy." Or at my dad, whatever he said. I was like, that was delivered really well. Like that was not cringy. It was very like, felt like he meant it.
It was real and dramatic.
When Joe, played by Lawrence Tierney, mentions that Mr. Blue is dead, he says, "Dead is Dillinger." Lawrence Tierney played the lead of the film Dillinger, which was about John Dillinger, the infamous gangster. He was the lead of that film back in 1945. So nice little play there. Michael Madsen says that Kirk Baltz, who played Nash, asked to ride in his trunk to experience what it was really like. Madsen agreed, but decided as he went along that this was time for his own character development. So he drove down a long alley with potholes and then a Taco Bell drive-through before taking Baltz back to the parking lot and letting him out. Which I feel like, of anyone, I would imagine those two had the like tightest relationship on set, because that is like, that seems to me like the most intimate, like trust of like, that's not a real razor. You're not really gonna like break my teeth, but we gotta sell it. And like, I gotta imagine like the emotional roller coaster that Michael Madsen feels for like being this psychopath, getting ready to light this dude on fire. I'm not going to miss out on an opportunity to torture a fucking pig. It's just like one of those things. Is like, and then to like step out of that when the camera cuts and it's like, hey man, are you all right? Did I hit you a little too hard on that last one? I'm so sorry, dude. Like, this is not me. And then, Michael Nash just being like, nah, this is awesome. Like, keep it up.
Yeah. That's when I read that too. Just being like, I just wonder how hot it was in that potholy truck. But
anyways, for those who stuck around after, we did our whole philosophy on tipping and our rating of the movie, hope you enjoyed those little trivias and goofs as always. Pat, you got anything you want to add before we sign off?
I don't.
This podcast is almost as long as the movie.
Yeah, I know.
It's all right. It's all right. The first, 20 minutes are always beer. Hey, Ken, thanks for sticking around. We love you. We appreciate you. Anyone who listens to the show, and, is a kind human being, we consider you kin, consider you family, and we're thankful for you. So do us a favor, share the podcast, leave a review. We're really, like we talk about, in the last few episodes, we're really making moves to push this into the next phase. Website, all that stuff, calendar, dedicated series scheduled out. And so all that, from you guys, feedback and all that really does help a lot. So I think that's it, Pat. If there's nothing else.
Yeah.
Till next time.
Till next time. Thanks for tuning in. If you love this episode, drop us a review. If you have qualms or comments, leave us a voicemail on our website. While you're there, check out our latest news, merch, and deals from our sponsors. Till next time, Ken.